All right, Super Dave here, and we have an exciting review for you today. This is one. Now, I've had my Castle Grayskull for going on 3 years now, and have thoroughly enjoyed taking pictures with it and using it just in display. And of course, it's going to make it in the stories of the dioramas, Masters of the Universe, the stories soon on YouTube. But this is exciting. Finally got my hands on Point Dread and the Talon Fighter, which also comes with a Teela figure, which we're going to be looking at that, and also got a great deal on the brand new packaged up, sealed and packaged Fighting Foemen that we will be looking at as well in this review, because one of those Fighting Foemen actually is dressed like the Talon Fighter and is supposed to be kind of like a pilot for the Talon Fighter. So we'll be looking at them as part of this review simply because of that. I don't have or desire the other two vehicles, the Roton or the Attack Track. And I don't think they even made an Attack Track in Classics. They didn't. But I love this Talon Fighter. I'm excited about opening this brand new sealed and package, and it will go along with my Castle Grayskull, which we're getting ready to talk about here in just a moment. And that brings us to this beaut right here, this beauty, which of course is our He-Man and the Masters of the Universe mini comics collection book, which was put out a few years ago by Dark Horse. And in here on page 179, you have the tale of Teela, which begins to shed light on where the Talon Fighter and Point Dread really had its origination. It had to do something with when Teela was born, from the Teela Na, or Teela, you know, the goddess original. And you can read the stories on page 179. If you have this book, I would advise you to get it. If you like Masters of the Universe, you can get it on Amazon. Pretty good price. And you can also, I believe, get the digital Kindle version and read them digitally that way. But this tells the story. And so the cool thing about Point Dread only appears on Eternia every 20 years. It's a mystic artifact, and the Talon Fighter is tied to that. Now, the back of this bio card with the Fighting Foemen says that after the Great War ended and Eternia was left without a king, when King Grayskull died, a group of renegade pirates known as the Fighting Foemen took over the Valley of Gnarl and all of the surrounding territories, spreading fear throughout the land, and they built great war machines like the Roton and Talon Fighter to terrorize the populace. So these guys began the building of the Talon Fighter based on that Classics canon story, but somehow down the line, this Point Dread and this Talon Fighter became connected mystically, magically. And when that happened, it was able to appear and disappear whenever and wherever it desired. And it was really a magical fortress or base. And so whoever had control of it, good or bad guys, apparently determined, and this, using my imagination, determined who held the power of the Talon Fighter and Point Dread. Case in point, the story, The Power of Point Dread, on page 211 here in the book, begins to shed some light on this story when, after Teela is now 20 years old, Point Dread reappears. Point Dread reappears on Eternia, and Skeletor has the control of the crystal, the mystic crystal of the caverns. And with that mystic crystal of the caverns, it gives him the power to focus all his psychic energies on the Talon Fighter to capture it from Castle Grayskull. Because in the tale of Teela, when the Point Dread was in play, the sorceress was finally saved, and she was able to tie the powers of Point Dread. It says, once Skeletor used the mystic might of Point Dread to endanger all of Eternia, but the goddess spirited the entire structure off to Castle Grayskull, merging it with the mystic stronghold. So the way I interpret that is she took the Talon Fighter and Point Dread and attached them atop the structure of Castle Grayskull, which bound it to the structure through a spirit, and it merged it with the mystical stronghold that is a part of Castle Grayskull. It's like a force field almost that stands around Castle Grayskull to protect it, as we've seen in the cartoon and even in the Spirit of Grayskull, of course, in the mini comics. So that way, and I'm going to add a little bit to this with my imagination, that that the Talon Fighter and Point Dread can merge and be a part of Castle Grayskull and appear and disappear, almost like a cloaking device, a cloaking effect, and it can be seen or not seen whenever necessary. And of course, we'll talk about a little bit more about the Talon Fighter once we break it open. But let's first look at the box and just get an idea, and we'll get to these guys near to the end. All right, so here is this huge box. Wow. So just in case you may be interested, let's look. It measures in at exactly 26¼ inches wide. So that just gives you an idea of just how massive this box is, and check it out. But let's look at the box. It says 3 toys in 1. It can be a separate Frontier outpost. It can be, of course, the flying Talon Fighter, and then, of course, the battle station atop Castle Grayskull. So you see those 3 pictures there on the side. Beautiful artwork up here. You see that? Just really enjoy that. And then on the top, you see the actual toys themselves. You see the Talon Fighter perched on top of Castle Grayskull, the Talon Fighter itself, and then, of course, showing it again together. Then you have on the side the full picture, which the Talon Fighter is quite a bit big to be able to compensate for the ability to hold 2 full-size Masters of Universe classic figures. Look at that beautiful artwork on that side. And then in keeping with the tradition of the vintage characters back in the day, the back showed off the red print of other selling points and vehicles and accessories, as well as what was within side of the package. So just really cool, a lot of cool stuff going on. And then on top of it here, again, there you see the toys. Okay, so let's go ahead and break it open right quick and check it out. All right, so we see the Talon Fighter. Of course, you can see that massive opening of the Talon Fighter, and on the inside you have all these nice controls, and on the inside you see they're not stickers, they're actually molded into the plastic and painted individually. Then you do have some stickers on the inside on the back panel, and then some stickers on the inside of this side back panel as well. This, though, is molded on. These are really cool and painted individually. That's molded in. You can feel them raised up there. That is not stickers. And then the control panel on the inside also is molded in and is not stickers. And this side as well, all along here, is molded and is individually molded in with paint application and detail, as well as this little console down in this area here. That's molded in. That's not stickers. So the only stickers you have is these back stickers on the sides. Pilot and... But also, it came with this little sticker pack here that you can choose. You have 3 choices of which picture you would like to display in this display panel here. And I'm going to use, in a few moments here, the radar looking one. And there's one where you're talking to Orko and Cringer, and then there's one where you've got Beastman in your sights, I guess, to prepare to shoot at him. But I'm going to use the radar. It looks more authentic there, so we'll use the radar one here and get that one stuck on in just a little bit. Let's go ahead and put it together right quick. All right, so we have it put together here, and just really cool. You see the accents that they placed as far as that metallic blue that they drew in on the cannons, on both the one molded in and then the ones we popped in. These all pop in very firmly. You just press and they pop in very firmly there on both sides. The feet were already installed. Then you have these vent type circles that you see throughout underneath, which are really neat, just highlights. And then the shading you see in the wings, it's kind of a dark shading that is, and it's just a really nice glass. I mean, this thing is huge. Look at that, just how big that is. And we'll put the figures in it later just to see. But even the wash here, the shading that you see on the top, the bird face, the beak, everything's very sturdy feeling, really nice. This silver panel almost looks like real metal, that silver panel there on the side going on to the door. Again, you got the blue, metallic blue accents going along the side. Just really a lot of neat detail. The red eyes on the bird there, you see those. And of course, again, the rivets that you have, these popped on really snug. These are nice. Then you have, of course, the radar or satellite type radar surveillance system that's on top here that goes along with the technology of point dread. And then you have that does swivel all the way around 360. So just a lot of neat features here. And you've got those big sections here that will lock in to the top of point dread, which we will assemble next. And just before we do assemble it, check out that copper type aged wash that they put on top of that part that it locks onto. But let's go ahead and put together point dread, and then we'll check it all out together. All right, so now we have point dread assembled, and you see that this does not pop in or anchor in. You just set it in there, and there's a nice molded area for it so you can use it or not use it. Maybe you could take some pictures with, you know, your figures on the inside of point dread without using the control panel area. And of course, you have this nice control panel, which all of this, with the exception of the screen, that is a sticker on here, but all of this is molded in and painted individually, as well as on the front here. All of that's molded in and painted individually. It does look like that that is a sticker that is on the screen there, but other than that, all the rest of those Eternia looking computerized things from the 80s cartoon, they did a good job, I think, staying true to some of that. But that looks really neat. That's like an inside station and inside fortress where they can work and do some headquarters stuff, some figuring. But also, again, the sorceress put a spirit on point dread so that it has the ability to aid whoever has control of it, whoever has the powers at the time. Now, point dread, this part here, does not go on Castle Grayskull. Only this top part goes on Castle Grayskull, so they are able to separate. Now, on this one here, it just kind of pops loose. If you'll notice, it just kind of pop it loose. All right, so there it is, fully assembled. And I want to show you something. If you'll notice, on the very bottom of our Talon Fighter perch here, there's a little place where if you press that button, it releases the latch. There's some little latches and little pegs, and that pressing that forward, press it forward here, and it releases. And I'll show you. Let me move the control panel so it doesn't keep sliding, and you'll see when I press that button or slide that button forward, it releases those latches that lock in the Talon Fighter's feet. And then all you have to do to perch the Talon Fighter on top of point dread is just simply sit it down there, and it holds securely. You see, it holds very securely, and and it's very nice. Humongous. Look at that. All right, so there's our Talon Fighter and Point Dread. Let me just show you in comparison to Castle Grayskull. You just see the pure size of this amazing structure alongside Castle Grayskull. This thing is massive. You see how big it is. It's almost, even just the Point Dread itself combined is almost half the height of Castle Grayskull by itself. And so that's pretty impressive. So when you break them apart, you have to detach each side, the right and left side first, and then give it a firm jerk to release those pegs that are underneath it, that are back in there. You can see them back inside of there, and there's just no release mechanism. I've looked all over it. I know others have too. You would think that there would have been, but there's not. So you just have to give a firm little jerk. All right, so now let's look. Come with me here to our Castle Grayskull, and you see if we line up Point Dread with our castle, just like we did it pops on there very securely. And we'll take our Talon Fighter here and park her atop, and there you have it. Voila! The Talon Fighter and Point Dread really take on a character of their own. Even though the Talon Fighter doesn't talk, it has a personality, and there's a backstory there, as you've seen. And when the sorceress placed Point Dread and the Talon Fighter atop Castle Grayskull, there was a force field of protection there that helped the Talon Fighter and the Point Dread stay within the clutches of good. And Point Dread and the Talon Fighter can cloak or disappear and reappear at will, depending on when it's needed or when He-Man is in need of the Talon Fighter. See the jet burners back there and how they're shaded in. Really neat looking details on the back there of the Talon Fighter. Really cool. And sits really nice and pretty right on top of Castle Grayskull. Really, really sharp. Just really, really neat. Do one more sweep here. All right, now let's check out Teela. All right, here is our Teela figure that came with Point Dread and the Talon Fighter, and she's sporting this really neat helmet. Now, this is a far cry from the Teela that was originally released, that has been covered by many others. Somewhat disappointing in the detail and the the overall presentation of her body and her clothes and her quality, even in terms of the face. And you'll be able to see that here. Just the beauty of the face is certainly better on this Teela that was released individually. But I think the helmeted head looks better overall than the unhelmeted head, because it did come with a second head. And let me mention very quickly that with this helmeted head, you can remove the visor. So that's a nifty trick. You can remove the visor, but I think the visor looks good on. Kind of hides some of those imperfections, so we'll keep the visor on there for now. And that's neat. And that goes along well with the idea of her being able to ride in the Talon Fighter and have a helmet that's very similar to Man-at-Arms' helmet, her dad's helmet, in the color and look of it, except hers has wings coming on the top of hers instead of these computerized modules that Man-at-Arms helmet has. Now, one thing I will mention as far as in comparison to the two Teelas is, you notice Teela, her original body did not have the ability to have any hinge, no twisting, no posability at all in the midsection. From the neck all the way to the legs, there was no movement, nothing posable. They did add in this version a waist twist, a waist swivel, which would also further help her pose and be able to be used in the Talon Fighter, I believe. But her legs will go all the way out. They'll go back quite a bit. She does get that full 360 there. Her arms are your basic female arms with the, except for instead of a bicep swivel, you have a swivel at that band there, which is similar to the other Teela as well. Then as far as the head, you get back and forth. Not much up because it hits the back of that collar on the back, but you do get quite a bit down. Be able to look down, and got that high collar. Then of course you've got the boot swivel, and you've got the back and forth, of course, and no rockers on this one. And then you also have thigh swivel there, up in there, and can get a full split too with this Teela. So you see basic female Masters of the Universe Classics articulation there. But really nice figure overall. I think she'll be cool with this helmet. One of the things I would say, and we'll go ahead and try this out, is that if you wanted to use your original Teela, they do have the same size ball joint. So if you wanted to use the original Teela as far as your helmeted head, you can do that. And it looks nice. The skin tone matches, and it works really well. Everything looks good. So you could technically do that if you wanted to use this Teela, and I'm using some tacky to allow her sword to be on her back there, but you could certainly do that if you desired. Now let me go ahead and I want to cover the head that comes with our Teela here, the other head, the Filmation head, if you will. And this is where you further get disappointment, not only in the body, but even in the face sculpt. Again, when you compare the face sculpt of the original Teela to this Teela, you're going to see the big difference. Even though it's not awful, there's just not the realism, and to me it doesn't look anything like the Filmation. And I'll put a picture of the Filmation Teela there. There you go. You see the difference. And there's a picture of the Super 7 Filmation Teela. Didn't think they captured it either. I'll put it beside there. But again, being that the ball joints do match, you could always use this head on here if you wanted to use this body so that you could have the waist swivel, even though the outfit is a little bit disappointing as well compared to the details. But then again, you have the simplicity of the Filmation look compared to the Classics original release there. And some of you may have the Super 7 Ultimate Teela as well that came with the blonde-haired versions, and their body is similar, almost identical to this one here. But this was Mattel's first attempt of a Filmation Teela, and you see the head sculpt just didn't quite measure up. Teela also comes with this sword, which is more reminiscent of what she carried and would use in fighting in the Filmation cartoon. And she jerked it down off of the wall a few times in the Filmation cartoon, off the Eternia Palace walls, to use to fight and also in training. And she also comes with this shield, which is more reminiscent too of the simplicity of one of the weapons and shields that you would see in the Filmation cartoon. And just to give you a comparison, that's the one that came with the Classics, the original Classics Teela. So there's that simplicity again. And so those are the weapon accessories that Teela comes with. Alright, you see He-Man patiently waiting back there. So let's go ahead and try out our Talon Fighter. You see how huge the seating area is here inside of this Talon Fighter. It's just mammoth inside of there. And so if you want your Teela figure to drive, you can position her as such right inside there, and then you have the little handles, and our hands will pop right onto those. You have to stretch them out a little bit. They're pretty posable. You can pop those right on there, as you see. You get a little closer in on this here. You see those handles, and she's very well fitted right inside of the Talon Fighter there. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and position our He-Man. Let me go and get his. This is our Super 7 Filmation He-Man, even with the sword, putting his legs inside. And He-Man, of course, fits in there nicely also. So let's go ahead and close them in here. And you can even see the figures inside of the vehicle pretty well. There, you can see them inside there as they fly by. And that Talon Fighter really allows Teela to hold on nicely with those hands, with those handles, so that even when you jerk it around or move it, they are staying very securely in there. So there's plenty of room inside for those two figures, and that's just genius. And that's the reason why this vehicle is so large. You know, most of the time, even with, you remember the original Castle Grayskull, you had a problem with where the head clearance was not tall enough, and Battle Cat certainly could not go through the mouth of the drawbridge, the original Battle Cat, if He-Man was sitting on top. And so they fixed that with the scales with these new classics. And of course, with that, you're going to get some issues like this oversized vehicle kind of thing, to be able to put two full-size classic figures in there. But that is just really neat. Now, of course, the original vintage had the handle back here that you could hold, but you can hold these feet very nicely and fly and work with those. Really neat. You can even go upside down, do a barrel roll effect, and He-Man's jostling around in there a little bit, but not Teela. She's very secure inside of there, so that's really neat. Even could go against Skeletor back there on the Ice Dragon, come at each other. So just really cool. Then of course they can land on top of Point Dread, and then take the little stairs down to the there's where some of the magic will have to happen with our imagination, right? Because those steps are just a little tiny, I think, to be able to have them get down out of there and then take the stairs down Point Dread. We'll have to see how that'll work, but you use your imagination. One of the things I wanted to mention concerning our He-Man flying our Talon Fighter is, of course, his hands fit very nicely over the handles as well, and he is able to drive it with his sword sheathed also, and could have man-at-arms, or of course Teela riding with him. Unfortunately, I don't think Battle Cat would quite fit back there, but Battle Cat Man could. What I wanted to mention to you, according to the mini comics, and is also referenced, not explained in detail, but referenced in the Filmation cartoon, is that He-Man, a lot of times He-Man's at the Eternian Palace. And according to the mini comics, in the fastest vehicle, that is 45 minutes from the Eternian Palace to Castle Grayskull. Now, that Battle Cat may even take longer than that if he rides Battle Cat to Castle Grayskull from the palace. And so one of the things that's mentioned in the cartoon is that He-Man can take the Talon Fighter, and it can of course appear at the wish of either He-Man or maybe the Sorceress. I'm not sure how that exactly works, or if he just parks it behind the palace just in case. You know, some of those details you'd have to use your imagination. But when he is in the Talon Fighter, it says that he can get to Castle Grayskull from the Eternian Palace in no time. I mean, just instantly, just almost transportational type flying. Such a quick way of getting there. So I guess maybe light speed or warp or something is on the ability of this Talon Fighter. So I thought that was interesting to mention. So just a lot of cool magic and a lot of cool mystery and a lot of cool backstory attached to both Point Dread and Castle Grayskull. And that's going to be a lot of fun to explore and implement when we get to that part of the story. So cool. So thank you again for checking out this review. Now let's go look at the Fighting Foemen. All right, very quickly here, let's look at our Fighting Foemen. So we're going to unbox these, but just to give you a quick look at the box, the classical box that comes with most figures that are packed in threesomes. And then of course on the back you have some other selling points. And then there's that bio card if you would like to read that. All right, here's our Fighting Foemen, and well, 2 men and 1 lady. Our faux persons. I'm just joking. And first up is our Shield Maiden Sherilyn, and take a good look at her right quick. She has a very beautiful head sculpt, really nice helmet. Unfortunately, the helmet is non-removable. Has a ponytail in the back. Has the insignia for what I believe is the attack track, which they have not released an attack track. Nice armor, some gold highlights, even a darker gold in our visor. Pretty face though as far as the lips and the jawline there. Just overall nice figure and figure. Completely around there, and of course the fuzzy panties there. And then you've got, of course, your boot cut down here for the female legs, and then that odd rocker like you saw in the original Teela is back with this figure and some of the other Princesses of Power figures. Back to that, instead of a bicep swivel, kind of above the elbow swivel there, below the arm bracelet, and of course we're swivel at the wrist. Has that awkward female buck waist swivel, so it's better to keep that straight. There's no upward torso movement there. The head can look up, can look down, side to side, and you even get some attitude, some pivoting, which is really nice for this figure. Of course, can go up, legs can go out. Nope, not any swivel on those thighs like most females have, but that's okay. You got the boot cut and single jointed knees and elbows, of course. So there's just a quick look at that figure there. This is Ditz. His name is Ditz Stroyer, and he's patterned after like the Roton. Has the Roton face on the front of his insignious chest piece. Has the cape, which that cape is removable if you remove the head, but then you can't remove the hood, so I guess you really don't need to remove the head or the hood because of that. Same kind of Master's articulation, bicep swivel, single jointed wrist. Got your ab crunch, swivel there, full split. You do have thigh swivel here. You have boot cut, single jointed knees. You have pretty good feet action there. but not a whole lot of rocker on this guy. But nice tight joints, and can look up a little bit. Not able to look down because of that hood, but of course you get side to side. It's hindered some by the hood, but you're able to get a pretty good amount of motion there on this guy too. And then our next guy is the one that we're really interested in for this particular review, and that is Dawg-o-Tor. And he's the one that's patterned after the Talon Fighter that we're reviewing this review. So he is really cool. He's got the Talon Fighter insignia on the front. He also comes, and I'll go ahead and throw this in now, this cool shield that looks just like the Talon Fighter back there. And you can see that. Let's lift that up. There you go. Just looks just like the Talon Fighter. So that's just really neat attention to detail there to give it a little bit of a special touch. And he's got a really cool helmet with the wings that kind of match the wings that were on the Teela with the Talon Fighter, except they're painted gold here. And he's got some hair in the back with this like white or gray streak. I guess a birthmark type hair streak in the back there. Of course, this armor is removable, and he has the same articulation. Head goes up and down, side to side, has a little bit of pivot. The hair does hinder. Arms go up, bicep swivel, single jointed elbow, swivel at the wrist and waist. Can do a full split, thigh cut, single jointed knee, boot cut, and of course tight joints there, but very little to no rockers. So everything's tight, and of course ab crunch. He's able to get a full ab crunch. He's able to go back some too. So, and that visor, I don't believe that visor, I was going to see if it's removable like Teela's. So his helmet and visor are non-removable, but you can see that you can still see through that visor at his eyes, and it has a pretty cool and original face sculpt there as far as I can tell. But of course there's a lot of reusable parts on the body of these guys. But just overall a really neat character as well, and this is the one that I wanted to look at primarily because of the Talon Fighter. And of course he comes with this really neat Talon Fighter shield, and then he also has the Talon Fighter looking laser gun as kind of a club, if you will. He can hold it either at the bottom or up here at the top. But it looks like the guns on the in the color of the Talon Fighter. And even the one that comes with the Tac Track Shield Maiden Sherlin, this gun could even pass for kind of a Talon Fighter color too. So you could even use this one with him if you wanted to. I was just noticing it kind of looks like a Talon Fighter color with the metallic blues that are spattered on it as well. So there's his accessories, and that's the main one I wanted to check on. We'll actually check him on the inside of the Talon Fighter, flying it there in just a minute. And I wanted to tell you something about this guy too. And all of these guys, you can remove their insignia and put their Horde equivalent insignias on there to make them work for the Horde to go along with that storyline. So you can add that to all of them's insignia. Now I'm not going to do that to our Talon Fighter guy because I want to see him flying the Talon Fighter. But there's even a small one for her. And you see it's just a little peg area in their chest, and that pops right in there. And now they can work for the evil Horde as part of that storyline also. She has the Attack Track shield. Looks like the wheels on the Attack Track. So that's cool. And I believe that's what that's signifying. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. But I believe it was the Attack Track. And then this is something cool about this guy. He has the Roton staff here. Looks just like the Roton stuff. You combine the Roton face here and that, you got a Roton, which is kind of neat. But also his cape has a little place to hold his Roton staff. So you can slide that right back in there, and he's got a neat accessory that highlights his outfit even further. So whether he works for the Horde with his Horde insignia, or if he is the Roton pilot or driver, he can be decked out either way. And also, finally, on this guy, he has one other accessory. We'll get a two-handed motion going on here with this guy. And there you have it. His laser rifle there. Really nice laser gun with some red highlights, some metallic highlights on that laser rifle. So that's really neat. And there you have the fighting foemen and lady. All right, let's check out Dawg-o-Tor and see how he can drive the Talon Fighter.
Stay away from the Talon Fighter, Montauk. You won't be able to control it.
All right, so a final thing here we'll look at very quickly about our Talon Fighter. Of course, we have our Teela, who has her helmet on and her visor, and that's the one that comes with the Talon Fighter. And then our Dawg-o-Tor, who is the fighting foemen. The fighting foemen, again, in the legend, apparently after the Great Wars and after King Grayskull died, and they were these pirates that kind of ravaged the area. I almost kind of wish, I'm going to think in my storyline, I'm going to let this guy at least, instead of him serving the Horde eventually, I'm going to let him become a good guy. The other two, the girl, shield mating Sherilyn, and of course our Ditz Destroyer, they can kind of follow the Horde route, but I think I'm going to let my our Dawg-o-Tor here be like a dogfighter and be a real skilled pilot, because I mean the Talon Fighter is supposed to work with good. I mean I want the Talon Fighter to be on the good side, so I'm going to go ahead and strap him in here, and I like the way that can open all the way, or also rest right there. It's got the little notches so that it can do that. But we can sit our Dawg-o-Tor right in here. Put his legs kind of in between those control handles, piloting handles there. And then he's got his visor. And let's go ahead and put Teela in the back here just for fun. Got her helmet on. And there you have it, folks. You have your Dawg-o-Tor pilot that matches. And I love this. I just love this this shield that matches it. I just about want to put that in there too, just to have that in there with them somehow or another. And maybe that's enchanted also. We can just, you know, use our imagination and have fun with it. But there's our Dawg-o-Tor inside of the Talon Fighter, and that is just so awesome. Check it out. He-Man's just gonna watch him take off. All right, thank you again for watching this exciting review with Super Dave and on the King Grayskull He-Man MOTU Classics review channel and Diorama Stories. We'll be covering part 4 soon. Thank you for checking out this review of the Point Dread and Talon Fighter. There's Point Dread atop Castle Grayskull now, and the base over there I've got off to the side. And then here the Talon Fighter with our Dawg-o-Tor and Teela in the back there, and then He-Man checking it out, the other fighting foemen. So thank you again. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Thank you for checking us out. Come back next time. Hit that bell if you'd like to know when we review another exciting action figure. We've got some others coming up, got some Fortnite figures coming up, and some other exciting Masters of the Universe figures to unpack as well. Thank you again. Blessings.